Rohit works a lot in the diversity space and the social and mental emotional health space. And he's the CEO of Upnishala. And they also the co-founder of Coach Community School. And I think through his presentation, you'll see how they've come up with innovative ways of working with younger kids as well as with social and emotional awareness. Rohit, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidya. Thank you so much. That's a beautiful introduction. I think Harmik's talk was just beautiful, just listening to what he was saying, right? Because I was like, this is something that this is relevant for us. This is something that we have done. This is something that is useful. So it was so much of resonance. So thank you for kind of making that presentation, Harmik. Just to very briefly introduce what we do at Apnishala. We also started in 2013. And since then, what we are trying to do is build social emotional learning and uh, highly under-resourced schools, primarily working right now in Mumbai in LMM Westports, which is Kurla, Ghatkopar, Govandi, Mankod, Chembur area. The intention is that how do we build a systemic framework of mental well-being into public schools, but also low-income schools, middle-income schools, all sorts of schools, right? Because mental health is I mean, with or without COVID, it was a challenge in India anyways. No one wants to talk about it. No one wants to deal with it. No one wants to engage with it. There's no funding available for that. So it was a challenge all in its own way. So how do you design a system that responds in ways for children's well-being at the central of any school design? So that's what Apnishala does. Right now, we are working with 21 partner schools in these 3 wards, as well as we started a pilot school in 2017, which is Coach Community School that Binya spoke about. The intention is that how do you build a design of a school that kind of centers social and emotional well-being into all practices of school, whether we are talking about curriculum, whether we are talking about timetabling, whether we are talking about teacher recruitment, teacher professional development, all sorts of practices at school. How do we root it in social emotional development and mental well-being? So that's more or less was our work. And March 16th came, right, where everything just shut down. And when that happened, I think the biggest question was for us was, can you go to the next slide, please? I think this comment by a student is kind of centers everything that we started thinking, right? This kid in grade 2, Vansh Gaikwad, he has been kind of inside his home, and just to give you a sense, his home is as small as many of our bathrooms will be, right? Living with 6 family members, and in that home, it's a really lovely, happy kid, right? When school was on, they would run around, do stuff, but then all of that has just stopped, right? And then he stands on the balcony and he says that, I wish I was a monkey and could jump around from one tree to the next. Now, just thinking about it from children's point of view, that while we are responding to COVID in multiple ways, what does it mean for young people? What does it mean for them to be stuck in the homes? And this is still fine, right? And then there are this spectrum of challenges. One is that disengagement, then there's like, abandonment, then there's like abuse, and it goes on. And I'm not saying all children are going through. There are times that they are very happy. They are happy that schools are closed. There have been times that it's fun, it's holiday, right? So it's all sorts of range of emotions. But the question is that when we are designing a learning, virtual or not, the first question we were asking is that what is really relevant in terms of learning? Do I still go back and teach my child language and math and EVS in the ways that they were learning earlier? Or there's other content that is required? Do we need to ask other questions? And that became a very, very, like, thinking about learning about PM or right angles. Is that even relevant today? Should we not be talking about, the class-based differences that have been introduced or has become so visible that Harmik was talking about? 80% of children don't have access, right? Leave alone in terms of learning. So why not talk about those things, and why not make the content relevant? And then asking the question that, okay, now that what do we want to do with young people, or how do we do it? That becomes the question, right? So when we start thinking about that, for Apni Shala, the challenges uh, goes to another level, and that would be true for all organizations that are working with low income communities, right? Can you please go to the next slide? And in that regard, then the first question for us was that how do we structure uh, uh, when we are thinking about any kind of engagement with children at home? Structure care first for children, for parents, for families, and for our teams. So, for example, first 2 weeks there was nothing that we had on goal sheets for our teachers. We said, figure out your life first, settle down with your families. Uh, some of our team members come from low income homes, from slums in Mumbai, right? So we're like, do whatever you can, don't do what you cannot, and it's fine, right? Or we didn't jump onto Zoom because many of our team members didn't know what Zoom is, right? So we had to just wait it out. And I think what Harmik was saying, like, play is very central to our work. We do a lot of work around play. Like first 30 Khoj Community School is play, just play. So we said, let's engage with play, even for our staff, even for our families, and see how can we play with what's going on, right? Next slide, please. So the first thing was that we had to provide relief support. Families needed food, they needed ration, they needed medicines, they needed, toiletries. So we were like, let's first figure that piece out, because anything before that will be inhuman. Or even to ask a parent that I want to teach your child on WhatsApp is inhuman. So right, we had to first figure this piece out, and now that we have a structure, we kind of built together a community outreach initiative as the first initiative. We're figuring out which parents need support, how much support, what will work, what will not work, and just kind of doing a proper assessment of that. Then finding partners who can respond to these needs, or finding funders who can directly support to some of these needs, because this was not our core, right? We were social emotional learning people. Now we are providing rations, right? So we had to find ways to kind of how do we navigate that space. Next slide, please. And the other piece was the readiness of the ecosystem, that how do we become ready? So while I think Harmik made a really beautiful point that when we are thinking about teachers, what kind of tech trainings do they have? What kind of okayness, comfort, and just playfulness with tech they have, right? I mean, I enjoy doing stuff on Insta. I enjoy doing stuff on, say, Google Docs. I love Google Docs. So, and how do we kind of develop that just fun piece of it on a day-to-day basis, right? And luckily, Inshallah had that. In fact, one of our JD requirements is that you have to be good with Google Docs, or we will train you when you join, right? So those things existed. However, still there's certain level of readiness, educators' readiness, because our work was very relational, right? I mean, we do social emotional work. You need to be with people. You need to be able to give high fives, right? So how do you kind of transition that? So we created time for our team. We knew that our team is really amazing with social emotional knowledge that they have. So what we did was, let's go online, let's create, and they're very relevant knowledge, right? They understand the communities really well. They know language really well. So the other piece of mental health is that there's a certain academized language of mental health. How do you break it down into accessible community-centric language, right? So our teams know that. So what we started doing as a first project was, let's create resources, online resources, which will be trilingual, which is Marathi, Hindi, and English, right? They started producing, like, what kind of cartoons to watch and what kind of questions parents can ask when they are watching, say, Shinchan or Pikachu, right? And SEL aligned questions. Do not watch Shinchan, watch Pikachu, because Shinchan is not very SEL, right? Making some of these conversations and making it really, really simple for parents. What kind of movies can you watch? Watch Dear Zindagi with your family and talk about mental well-being? Can you watch Swadesh and talk about how to take care of communities when things fall apart? So making these really relevant, and these things are accessible because there's TV accessible in almost most homes. People anyways watching cartoons, they're watching cinema. Can we make it educational by offering these prompts to people who want to use it? So creating that content became our next step. What we also did was, we worked with Umeed mental health team to develop something called psychosocial first aid, because we realized that once the food is kind of sorted, the other piece is this anxiety that is building up. Like, why am I leaving the city that I have been here and worked for last 10 years? All of a sudden, I have become a migrant, right? That I have got that label and I have to walk, right? That is coming out of certain emotional response, right? So how do we kind of provide that stability of, okay, let's figure things out and let's see what's possible, at least for the communities that we work with. we can't do it for everyone, but families that we have been working with, right? So that psychosocial support was for children as well as for adults. And so first building these tools and becoming comfortable with that for ourselves, that how is our team figuring. And then also think about what kind of SEL activities or what kind of learning activities parents can do with their children. So figuring some of those things out, and started little bit onboarding parents on Zoom or WhatsApp based systems as much as they could. So for example, here you see a picture of our school management committee, parents from school management committee. So we started because they were influencers in the community, right? So got them onboarded with Zoom. They tried a little bit here, whatever they could, and then slowly they kind of onboarded other parents. Then they became a parents community. So just making that readiness very smooth in ways that, and giving it time, not rushing through it. We said do whatever is possible, right? Next slide, please. And from there, then we entered our phase 1, where we said, let's try things out now. Next slide, please.
It's 4 o'clock.
And sure. So I will go through it like.
No, that was the computer, Rohit. Don't worry.
Oh,
okay. No, please continue.
That is also a 10-minute marker, but I didn't have the heart to stop you. This is so engaging. So please go.
Okay. So so first response was creating WhatsApp groups, and we realized that many parents were already on WhatsApp, and those who were not, they would be supported through phone calls. What our these were groups where social worker and the teacher along with the parents were in those WhatsApp groups. And you will see that like this little chats that they were, I've tried to kind of, for privacy reasons, I've taken away the names of families and parents. But then what we started doing was our teachers started recording audio and visual instructions, because we realized that even if we type, many parents can't read it, right? So they have to be kind of voice recorded. So you will see that these activities, that images that you see, a teacher's voice recorded and actually shown how it would look like. And WhatsApp, all parents had to do was play the same instruction, that the child understands the voice of the teacher, that this Didi is talking, right? And they would do that activity, and all parents had to do was take a picture, final picture, and send it back. And these were like small 15 to 30 minutes activities that we designed, and we were like, let's keep it super small. As I think the Gateway team spoke about, just maintenance work, just a lot of revision, do a lot of revision, don't get into new concepts, all of those things. And also using a lot of material that were available at home for doing those activities. So asking parents, "Acha, aapke ghar mein ye hai kya? Can we use this? Can you use this?" Right? So that was typically the first phase of what we did. WhatsApp was like a boon, a really like, you know, a blessing for us. It really worked well. And anyways, our school year was ending in end of April. So primarily that kind of became our good amount of time. We could do whatever was possible with families and kids. Next slide, please. And along with that, we also set up, so WhatsApp has also increased the number of group calls. Like you can have like 8 people now. So earlier it was 4 people. So the classroom teachers and a group of students get into calls and these would be primarily social emotional check-ins, or what's going on. Like 2 of our children lost their dad. So just kind of providing that support of, we are still there. And because the parents were anyways talking to them in the WhatsApp group, there was a sense of continuity for them. So if, for example, in this particular picture, there are these 3 kids sitting together, but the parent was also somewhere there, right? So the parent was navigating it for them. But this other kid, she's a grade 2 student now. So she's pretty hands-on, and her brother is in junior KG. So she would be able to kind of navigate all of these things. So the senior kids have learned to kind of unmute themselves now, which is kind of just adorable to see. So they do it for themselves, and then they were able to monitor the younger ones as well. Yeah, next slide, please. And these were again, a lot of this was in testing phase. Like even for example, with the other piece that we done, like, you know, many of our team was very new to Zoom, I was mentioning. So first thing that we did on Zoom was a team meeting, which was very low stake conversation, chit chats, figuring out how you are. It's not a high stake conversation that if my Zoom fails or if I don't know how to do it, it's going to be like a major consequence, right? So starting from there, what we did was we offered our team members to start taking Zoom based sessions. So we do a lot of, you know, online SEL workshops for educators, trainers, and that was not a thing for us, right? We did everything offline. It was like in-person kind of world. So giving that time for the team to develop those competencies, one first internally, and then taking it out externally, and after that then structuring it into the system. So now for example, they have weekly goals on doing say x amount of workshops online, right? But now they're very comfortable doing it. They know how that rolls out. If things break down, they know how to process it. So yeah, next slide please. So now you will see the same kids are now in Zoom, because the parents had transitioned. It was easier for some. So for kids who still can't access kind of setup, they were still on WhatsApp or calls. So now having these differentiated mediums like phone calls for some families, WhatsApp for other families, Zoom for families who can have access, and also you seeing that because many of our children live very close by, right? For example, in this particular scene, you will see there are two kids sitting together. So because it's more like it's a home for them, even though it may be two different rooms, right? So if kids were able to access in ways which was safe from a medical safety point of view, they kind of join together. That say for example, if my family doesn't have phone and if I can still use Zoom when the other child is using, making those possibilities happen for the kids. The other was how can we ensure that because Apni Shala as well as Coach Design focuses on multilingual instruction, how can we ensure that the multilingual content is always maintained? So we got a lot of volunteers to translate our content, because if folks were available to volunteer their time, we were like, that's a great resource that we can use. So while our team produces content in English, translated in Hindi, Marathi from volunteers, get it reviewed from the team, and then send it out to families. The focus always have been keeping it light, not to overburden the parent, because parents have figured out a lot of stuff right now, right? A lot of corona safety related awareness content was created. So our kids know that high five nahi karna hai. Our kids know that haath dhona hai whenever I go out. So all of those things, and in the ways that they understand best, right?
Rohit, sorry if I can interrupt you.
Yeah.
In the interest of time, if you could just take another 30 seconds to wrap up, and then we can continue when we have question answers.
Definitely. Can you go to the next slide, please? The next one, please. I'm going to skip this. Yeah. So the previous slide basically spoke about what kind of support that families and parents were able to provide. So we also did a lot on training for parents, that what kind of stuff they can do at home. The other piece I think was really useful was especially in the BMC school setup, setting up call-based support for families as well as children in distress. And that was really, really important, because while we understand that there are many helplines available for say counseling-based helplines where they're providing support for domestic violence or abuse, etc., parents don't have, they neither have access nor do they have language to say that this is what I'm going through and I need support. And three, they don't know how to navigate hotlines, right? So what we did was we kind of reached out to them rather than waiting for them to reach out, and we just asked a more first level conversation that what's going on, how are you feeling, do you want to talk about anything, and they're helping them. So that became more like, creating that virtual support for people, that there's someone that you can reach out to, which is more accessible. Sorry. So that was something that is going on, and there has we started with 200 parents. Now we are working with almost around 800, 900 parents to provide that support. Next slide, please. So in next couple of days, we're working on just relooking at the curriculum itself, that how can our curriculum respond to the emerging needs of social, emotional, and academic development? What is required in current context? How do we change the concepts that we were talking about? We need to talk about, compassion in today's world. We need to talk about interconnectedness in today's world. We cannot not talk about it. And that shift is very, very crucial. And I think in education, it has to be an overhaul, right? Also exploring new type of media like radio or games, which are more easily accessible, more, not bound by the same time. People can access as and when. So looking at that and keeping it manageable for children and families. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, these are some of the resources that you can access. Thank you very much. And thank you, Gateway team, for having me here.